Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of your International Racing League season. We're here tonight for the Qatar Grand Prix. I was going to try and guess it based on the outside. Of course, I did know already because I've set the stream up and everything like that. But my brain is leaking, so in one ear, out the other, as it is. And, we are here tonight with 15 drivers on our grid. It's a pretty solid lineup for this evening, and we're ready for what should be a great evening of action, as TKM has already retired from the session in the pit lane as potentially a qualifying ban heading the way of the Red Bull. But yes, good evening. Welcome along to the International Racing League Round 5 for this season around the Qatar Grand Prix. My name is Joseph Black, aka Cockcast, and I'm here to take you through the action once again for what should be an incredible evening of action. The Qatar Grand Prix circuit, the Losail International Circuit, is one of my personal favourite circuits to drive, even if I'm not the quickest at it. It's, there you go. 5.380 kilometres, 3.343 miles, 16 turns, and just the one DRS zone down the main straight. Not many elevation changes around the 16 corners. Not many braking zones, actually, in fact, either, as most of them are just mid-speed corners. And speaking of mid, Killer Zombies heading around the final corner. That was a harsh way to introduce him. Killer Zombies around the final corner and setting a 1:23.4, and that is the lap time. That currently takes pole position as it stands. Astube will be heading through around to the final corner in a couple of seconds' time. Davy Norris will be heading up, and so will Unksu, who's going to improve on Killer Zombie's time by 1.3. So will Davy Norris, who goes up to first, 1,000th of a second ahead of Unksu. I said we were in for an exciting evening, and that is exactly the perfect way to start this one off. Astube heading into third, Floyd Pink into fourth, but 1,000th of a second separating our top two drivers. That's fireworks to start this evening's action off. And Davy Norris taking that pole position. Chaz stealing it away. 400ths of a second is what the Mercedes improves upon Davy Norris's time by. And well, this is the start of the race weekend that we so wanted. Razor going in 6th place with a 23.0 a second off of that pole position time. Lone Star, Chuck Norris and ARL all going on their lap times. ARL has a little bit of support in the chat from, I'm not sure how to pronounce that word in, that letter in a German. I think it's US12. Don't know what 12 is in German. Lone Star's heading through the second sector, as of course there is support from Briars. For Charlie as well, for Chaz. 200716, aka just Chaz, who goes up to the top by 400ths of a second. We're now watching Lone Star try to do exactly the same thing as his teammate and go up into first place, or at least on the front row of the grid. Would be a pretty decent start, as their teammate is there getting out of the way is Chaz, and that was Chuck Norris going into the 22s of 22.8. So 22's absolute bare minimum at this point in the session. And, it's a pretty rapid start to it. And Lone Star going a little bit for a slide, just being unable to catch it and over-covering himself and dropping the rear into the gravel. Speedy Spud's heading through the first sector. And, Razor's now going to come into the pits. We're going to go for another lap, I think. Yeah. Well, no, he's improved by a 10th of a second. So there's a little bit of time for the Kicksauber on that lap. And he's going to go around once again. Come back into the pits. His full debut on League Racing, and what a lap to start off his League Racing career with. Oh, a 1:22.094. All of these established drivers, Davy Norris, of course, a champion in multiple series, has been trumped by the debutant. Not a bad start, indeed. And Nike Snack, aka Davy Norris, coming into the chat saying he's quick. Well, absolutely. He is very quick, and that demonstrates exactly what sort of prowess the Mercedes has, as we're now watching the Aston Martin of Speedy Spud, who's set a 32.8, which was preparation for this lap time, as he was trying to get rid of all of that fuel. Perhaps that first lap didn't quite go to plan, and he's going to try and improve upon it. as he heads through this lap now. Apologies for that, don't know what happened there. Yeah, Speedy Spud not improving in that first sector, but clearly it all went wrong in that second sector, and he's going, or second or third sector, and he's going to try and improve on them. Good little racer. Well, the thing is with those who haven't done any league racing before, and this is speaking from experience, racecraft can sometimes be lacking, and I say that because you can be very quick. And you can be used to fighting the AI who get out of the way. These drivers are not going to get out of the way as easily. These drivers, you can't flash back as their Speedy Spud invalidates on his lap, and surely he's going to come into the pit. That's where the only concern lies. But as it stands, he's leaving a pretty good impression and a pretty good mark as well. I don't know what that's all about. Having a long day, it seems, on a Sunday. Clean 9 times out of 10, but it's that one that could get you a race or a season ban. So, hey. I believe it was you, Bryce, that I showed all about Mr. Mark McBrearty. As, well, ARL goes up quickest. Sticky goes even quicker, improving by 0.07 of a second on that whole time. Jesse Nutter is looking to set his first valid lap, as Davey Norris is looking to set his second. He's come across the line, and he's going to start that lap now. Nutter up to the line. Where's he going to go? As well, the line's pretty early on down this straight, and it's going to be 23.1, which puts him in 11th, behind his teammate by 0.2 of a second, but ahead of Killer Zombie and Speedy Spud. Speedy Spud, who was looking quicker on that last lap, 4 seconds. Is what he was improving by in that second sector, but it all went wrong in that third one. He ran wide almost at the end of the race, and or the end of the lap, and then just it didn't work out for him. We are going to watch, though, I think, with Davey Norris, who's improving by 10.5. There appears to be a lot of the track is rubbering in. There appears to be a lot of time left out there on the board as it stands, and Davey Norris trying to take advantage of that time. As there's yellow flags out for a Kick Sauber who's moved out of the way. It's an improvement by 0.25 of a second of Davey Norris in those first 2 sectors. And at the moment, that lap time is good enough to go into P3, but that's not where he's going to want to go. He did take that provisional pole position by 0.1000 of a second ahead of Unksu. He's looking to retake it as he heads around the final corner and putting the pedal to the metal for the final time on this lap time. DRS will be open now, up to the line. Davey Norris, does he take pole position? No, he doesn't. He slots in ahead of ARL and behind Sticky Icky. All 3 of them in the 21.8s. And it's a pretty close start so far. Lone Star's having another crack at it. Of course he is, as that is Unksu up to the line, but invalid. So we'll not be going on this occasion. Lone Star has also invalidated. And so he will also not be going on a lap. Ashtube not going on a lap. Floyd Pink is improving. Over 0.25 of a second is what he's improving by, up to the line. And it's going to be a 22.1 ahead of Unksu, behind Chaz. A lot of close lap times early on. Those top 3 split by just over 0.07 of a second. 4th and 5th split by just over 100th of a second. 4th and 6th actually being split by 0.04 of a second. So very, very close lap times. Lone Star's going to start on a lap of his own. Of course, he's had a couple of attempts now at going for a lap. Hasn't quite worked so far. And, well, there you go, confirmation. Sorry, I say there you go. And then it's just like, well, what's the, there you go. TKM does have a quali ban. And so he will be starting from the rear of the field. At this rate, he's going to be starting alongside Ricky, who's really not turning up. And I say really not turning up, as in Not setting a good lap time. Well, he's not setting a good lap time because he's not setting a lap time at all. He's not even in the session yet. As Lone Star once again invalidates on that lap. And there's a small potential here that Lone Star actually qualifies behind TKM. Would be an embarrassing decision. Or I say decision. It would be an embarrassing outcome for him as, well, there's been a few more times thrown in. Ashu moving up to 4th. Speedy Spud moving up to 8th. Chaz has now dropped down to P5. He's heading around the final corner. He has invalidated. Is he going to go for another one? No, he's not. He's going to dive into the pits. 5 minutes 28 left in the session. Good decision. Chuck Norris not improving on his lap time. We've only got a few cars out on circuit, to be fair. So I'm not expecting them to be. ARL has just started on his lap. What is wrong with me today? ARL has just started on his lap. He's the only one to push it. Ah, there he is. The Ferrari man, number 47. You took your sweet time, didn't you, Ricky? And now he's only got 4 minutes left in the session to actually set a valid lap time and go up at the top. So basically, he's got one opportunity at it. One stab at it. And he's going to try to do just that. But at the moment, not a great start. Not what he would have wanted. But it is what it is. Sticky looking racing tonight. He absolutely is. I mean, pole position. Provisional pole position as it stands with a 21.8. Not a bad start. I feel like there's more time on the board, though, with Davey, well, yourself and ARL just in behind Astube, the 4th driver into the 21s. So there is a lot of time to find, I think, on these laps. And it's whether you find them within the next 4 minutes, as Gaming Infinity has found half a second, and that is a good start. ARL has found that time. He's found 4/10, and he moves up to provisional pole position. Pretty solid lap from the Alpine, and well, that could be his last one. He may well have one more before the end of this lap, or before the end of this session, even. Gaming Infinity could be that driver. He improved by half a second in that first sector. He's lost a 10th in that second. Not sure where he's going to go as now he heads through the final couple of corners. Where is the Haas driver going to put himself as he's got one more corner to go? Where is he going to end up as he rounds the final one? As that's Chuck Norris 22.3 heading into 9th place. Gaming Infinity is going to come up to the line. It was a great first sector. Not quite as good second sector in the third sector. I mean, he's found half a 10th over the lap, so pretty fair. But 5th place is where he's going to go. 0.07 of a second behind Chaz in 6th. Or ahead of Chaz in 6th. And under a 10th of a second. Exactly 0.09 of a second behind Astube in 4th. So some quality lap times on this field. But still some time to find. Killer Zombie 2/10 down in that second sector. He's unlikely to find the rest of that time. As it stands at least. Oh dear. I'm hoping that's not just me for the broadcast purposes. But can I get an invite, please? Okay, thank you. There we go. Sorted. I've just got to try and get in the race, in the lobby myself. And there we go. Simple as. That's what happens when one of the men challenging for pole doesn't quite push. Doesn't quite push just yet. He's going to wait until late. And hopefully we're going to be in the session. Indeed we are. And we are in the session in just the nick of time. What's Davey Norris done in the meantime while he's inviting me? He's getting ready for a last lap push, I think. Or is he? Is he going on? Is he on a push lap? Let me come up to the first sector. He's a tenth and a chunk down, so unlikely. But that's all good. Where am I going to look? I've got a vast choice of people to look at here. To be perfectly honest, I'm going to look at Razor. He's going to be the first driver to come around on that final run. 25 seconds left in the session. I don't think it's going to be enough for Davey Norris. So his kindness of getting me back in the session has sort of shot him in the foot. Razor up to 9th place with a 22.2. Is JSC Nutter going to get around to the line quick enough? It's going to be close. He's made it with 5 seconds to spare. Davey Norris isn't going to get close, but he is on a push lap as the checker flag has waved. He's improving by 0.019 of a second. And up to the line goes Davey Norris. 21.8 is not quick enough for pole position. ARL holds that position still with a 21.492. Sticky, though, improving in that first sector and in the second sector as well in the Ferrari. Doing well, the sole Ferrari so far in this session, with Ricky not having set a lap time, and he will be starting from the back of the grid with TKM or Lone Star. Sticky Icky up to the line, and he moves back up into that second place, snatching it back off of Davey Norris. Ashtube, what can you do as you've improved by 0.126 seconds in that in the first two sectors? Checkered flag is being waved for most here, as that is Chaz up to the front row again. 21.6 is the lap time of the Mercedes. Nice little slipstream for Ashtube as he heads up to the line. It's not enough, though, for that front row, and he sits in P3 at the moment. Unksu moving up to 8th. Razor's completed his lap, and it's only waiting now for JSC Nutter, who needs to... Well, he's invalidated. So that is the end of the qualifying session. ARL in first, Chaz in second, Ashtube in third, Sticky Icky in fourth, and Davey Norris losing that 5th place. What am I saying? Losing that 4th place. Dropping down to 5th. And, well, he's going to be alongside Lone Star, who was able to slot in a 21 right at the very end. And that is it for him. Hello, ARL. Thoughts on that? Well, how's it going? How do you think it's going? You're the one on pole. Tell me how it's going. Got to try and hold it, yeah. I mean, you're a 10th and a half, or a 10th and a bit. A 10th and a quarter ahead of Chaz in second. So a pretty decent improvement. Pretty decently ahead of the Mercedes. And pretty decently ahead of the second row as well. It's a quarter of a second, the gap between you and Ashtube and Sticky Icky as well. But that is ARL on pole position. Chaz in second, 1.135 tenths behind. So I actually got it wrong by 100th of a second. Then it's Ashtube, Sticky Icky, Davey Norris, and then Lone Star. Big gap, 10th and a half back to Gaming Infinity. And then Unksu in 8th with Floyd Pink and Speedy Spud rounding out the top 10. Then it's Razor, Chuck Norris, JSC Nutter, Killer Zombie, and then TKM with his qualifying ban, and Ricky with his inability to qualify from the sounds of things in P16. He'll be on the back row alongside TKM. It looked scary for Lone Star, but he was able to slot himself in P6. That was good, didn't get to the flag to make final lap. Yeah, I mean, you weren't the only one. Were you? No, because David Norris was on a push lap. He lost a lot of time in that first sector, so he could have been all right. But the race session is getting ready to get underway, so final preparations are being done. Get your predictions in the chat, and hopefully we'll be getting going at 7:33. Got to look after tyres here, yes. I mean, it's the name of the game here around Qatar. But we'll have to wait and see. David Norris coming into the chat saying he'd be happy with P3 tonight. No, don't. I'm not having that. I'm not having that. If you're not going for P1, may as well retire. Not having it. So you better be going for the win or nout, in my opinion. Even if you're like TKM or Ricky, the back of the field, you better be going for the win tonight. There is always inner potential for that. Not far off your pace now, still getting used to the new cockpit view, but you're happier than last week. Well, to be right, okay. I'm going to be mean, just for a second. How on earth are you not already quicker with that new cockpit cam? Like, I would be sweating the life out of that setup, because it's insane. Like, my monitor that I have for racing is absolutely shocking. If you win, you'll do a shoot. Right, I'll keep the stream up for that. I'll stick an intermission on. If you send a vid, I'll put that on at the end of the stream. But you've got to win first. And that's not always a guarantee. So, fingers crossed. I'm hoping that you win now. Just so I get to see that, to be honest. But you've got to send a vid. A lot of Ultimate. Yes. Was it Briars that was talking to me about you doing Automobilista the other day? I think it may well have been. Because I was talking about the fact that I do R Factor 2 and iRacing and stuff. Seto Corsa. And it was like, you'd enjoy Automobilista. And I was like, I've heard that name before. I have heard nothing else about it. So, yeah, it is. I'd be interested in getting into it. Defo not giving Charlie his main competition. We don't talk about it, okay? We don't talk about how the fact that a league racing debutant has out-qualified like the entire field, barring one driver. We don't talk about that. You did one in Australia. Ooh. Yeah, I haven't paid attention to it. It's like £7, I think he said. I'm tempted. Pole Guy, Ricky, Nike, and Sticky. Oh, that's like a rhyme. Pole Guy, Ricky, Nike, and Sticky. I mean, yeah. I would not. I don't think I'd have anybody to disagree with you on that one. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Yeah, I think you're right on that. What's 30? The game? Automobilista. Is it? No way. Oh, £30. I'm being stupid. I was like, hang on. We're still playing a game from the 90s. No, we're not. But we are going, though, to the 5 red lights for the Qatar Grand Prix. It's lights. And it's action. An awfully long wait, but we are getting underway here in Qatar. And it's a good start for ARL, who's looking to cover off Chaz into turn number 1. He's making that move, but it's 3 wide behind Astube, Sticky Icky, and Davy Norris. They're still side by side as they head out of turn number 2 now. That is Sticky and Davy Norris. And that is the Ferrari who leads this battle. But around the outside he goes of Lone Star now. As Davy Norris taking that inside line was enough for him to take P4. And it is ARL who continues to lead this race. Chaz, who tried to fight back. And they're just continuing to fight all the way up and down the field. Gaming Infinity and Floyd Pink side by side. And it looks as though Gaming Infinity comes out on top on the exit there in P7. TKM and JSC Nutter having a fight. TKM having a good start from the back of the field. He moves up into P13 ahead of the Kick Sauber. And ARL continuing to the Unksu maybe? Yeah, absolutely Unksu as Killer Zombie has a moment off of the circuit. Still fighting for TKM. This time it's against Speedy Spud as he tries to go around the outside. Can he hold on to it? The answer is yes, he can. And the Red Bull moves up into P12 now. And his next, well, the next man up is going to be Chuck Norris. But it's a very good start for TKM. It's a very good start for ARL, who leads this race at the end of lap 1. Can Chaz get past with the slipstream? He's going to be under 5 tenths behind as he heads across the line. DRS will be open on the next lap, but is he going to be close enough without that DRS to make the move into turn 1? No. He only gets one boost of DRS, and that is going to be down the main straight at various different points in this race. And so he will try to take advantage of that one. Looking at the tyres that all the drivers are on, everybody's on a set of the mediums apart from Unksu, Speedy Spud, and Ricky Maru. Ricky, who started on the back row of the field and is trying now to work his way up. He's only gotten past Killer Zombie, who had a poor first lap. And now he sits 3.3 seconds off. So something tells me that there is something wrong with that McLaren, which is why he's so far back. Maybe a little bit of wing damage potentially for the Kick-Sauber. Not the Kick-Sauber, the McLaren. What am I talking about? Maybe a little bit of wing damage for the McLaren, who could have potentially sustained it on the first lap. Sikiki having a poor couple of corners. He's dropped down a few positions, down into 8th place. Lone Star trying to fight with Gaming Infinity. He's very, very close to the back of the Haas driver, and he's going to try and make this move into the final corner. The slipstream for the Mercedes is available, but he's going to stay behind because he knows that DRS is available too. It will be available for Gaming Infinity, but he's not going to have that same slipstream effect that Lone Star will from being right on the rear of the Haas. And now he tries to pull to the inside line for turn number 1. So does Chaz. It's two Mercedes making moves, but Chaz attempted to make it around the outside line. It becomes the inside line for turn 2. Is he able to hold this one, or is ARL going around the long way going to be able to hold on to this one? Yes, he is. Stellar defending from the Alpine, and it's going to have to be the Mercedes who's going to have to work hard for this one. And that is exactly what he's just discovered from that last couple of corners. It's going to be the fact that ARL is going to fight this one incredibly hard, and Chaz is going to have to fight back and fight to get into the lead. DRS will not be enough for the Mercedes just to breeze past, and he's just going to have that little bit extra, maybe making a gamble move, an unpredictable move. The outside line was certainly an unpredictable move as he tried to sweep around the outside, but it's one that could work out with turn 2 being straight after, and it would be the inside line for it. But Chaz continues to follow ARL through as they head through this lap. Now it's the top 3 odd that are very, very close together as it stands. Davy Norris just behind them as well. So they're all so close within the first few laps of this race. And it predicts a very, very spicy one as we head on now to the DRS straight for the second time that we will get that DRS. And that is ARL. To the inside line. That is Chaz to the outside line. Davy Norris setting it to the inside. It's going to be 3 wide for second as they head into turn 1. Davy Norris trying to take the inside line on Ashu. Can he make this move stick? He's not quite going to be able to do it, but Chaz has been able to do it and get up into first place. Davy Norris 3-second time penalty as he tries to get past Ashtube. He still holds that inside line, but he's just going to have to back out of it, and 4th place is where he's going to stay. For the time being at least, but 3 seconds worth of time penalties, if we stay this close, is going to be devastating. Lone Star looked maybe to the inside line on Davy Norris as they headed through, but not quite close enough to make that move, especially with Davy Norris not expecting it, and so he just ended up sitting right in behind as it stands. He's going to try to pressure Ashtube, who is now 9 tenths off of ARL in 2nd place in the top 2. Briars showing no bias at all there in the chat, cheering for Chaz to win, and that's absolutely fair enough that he cheers for Chaz to win. And, well, he's now 5 tenths ahead, so it's a pretty decent start from the Mercedes, and a pretty decent debut in league racing as well. He's going to head on to lap 5 of this race in the lead, but ARL will get his first taste of DRS, but he will nowhere near be close enough. Chaz showing supreme pace so far. ARL definitely 2nd best, with Astube in 3rd, being overtaken by Davy Norris. However, the straight line speed for the V-Carb is going to triumph as he heads down the inside. Davy Norris around the outside, though, sweeping through, and that is exactly what Chaz tried to do a couple of laps ago. However, the McLaren is out of that DRS range of ARL ahead. 1.1 seconds is the gap, and so, unfortunately for him, he's going to have to work extra hard to get back into it. Otherwise, he's going to get swarmed down the main straight once again. 3 seconds goes to Floyd Pink in 8th place. He could be coming under pressure very, very soon from Razor behind, as that could be a late move from Lone Star on Ashtube down the inside. Can he make this move stick as he goes to the inside? And yes, he does. Pretty simple move in the end. He made it look simple at least. And that is Lone Star up into P4. Very, very good weekend so far from Chaz and Lone Star in the Mercedes team. And they find themselves in first and fourth, which, well, they're going to try and hold a candle now to the dominant Haas team, as Mercedes, no points on the board before this round. They're going to try and change that, although, yeah, no points on the board. I was just trying to check whether Ricky had updated the stats. He had indeed updated the stats. He's on it, and, well, it's Haas up at the very top of the standings with 90 points. Mercedes right at the very bottom with 0, but they should make it all the ever closer, especially if Lone Star goes to the outside. Ashtube dives to the inside of Davy Norris, and 2 positions in one corner. The move could be successful as Ashtube just tried to look and catch Davy Norris off guard, and he has been successful in that. He's gotten through, and up into P4 goes the V-Carb. And, wow, what a move that is. Razor just fending off Floyd Pink for the time being for P8 and P9. Floyd Pink trying to make that move stick. Sticky trying to make that move stick on Gaming Infinity. He tries to send it to the inside, but Gaming Infinity just with that traction. I think it was a last-minute lunge from Sticky Icky that meant that he lost the traction on the exit. He was not quite able to make that move stick, and he holds P7 at the moment, but right behind Gaming Infinity. He's right behind David Norris, who's right behind Ashtube, but the DRS now has been broken by the Mercedes in P3, and he's going to look now to break away. ARL and Chaz are within DRS range once again, and they will continue to fight down the main straight, but Lone Star not offering any pressure from behind on ARL. He's going to try and change that within the next few laps. Imagine how perfect it will be as weekend for the Mercedes outfit if they're able to come from last in the Constructors to, well, where would they be with maximum points? I reckon they'd be about P6, maybe even P5 or P4, as only Floyd Pink Racing for Alpine, who are in P5, and Speedy Spud Racing for Aston Martin, who are in P4. Gaming Infinity gets past Sticky Icky down the main straight. There's a little bit of squabbling going on in behind, with Razor holding onto the position ahead of Unksu, who finally takes P9 off of Floyd Pink's hands and continues to try and charge forward. But for the Ferrari, or for the Haas even, he is on a set of the hard, so he's going to try and go play the long game. But at the moment, sitting in P9, not a bad outcome for him. And he's going to try and find his way up now. He's got Razor as his next target, who's now looking forward at Sticky Icky, and that could mean that he misses an exit, just like he may well have done there. Unksu looking to continue to pressure Gaming Infinity. Now trying to pressure Davy Norris, as opposed to be pressured by Sticky Icky behind. And he might be trying to make this move on the McLaren, who's not been the most comfortable in his race pace so far. His quali pace was alright being in the top 5, but his race pace hasn't quite been there so far, losing that DRS to ARL and then losing those positions to Lone Star and Ashtube. Not exactly what the McLaren would have wanted, but now he's coming under pressure from Gaming Infinity, who's going to try and compound that pressure and compound that race weekend that he's having so far. Davy Norris now will head round to the final corner, 5 tenths behind Ashtube. Gaming Infinity just 3 tenths behind him, and he's going to try to close right in. DRS open now as he heads down the main straight, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. There could be scraps happening for P11 with Speedy Spud and Floyd Pink side by side. It was actually Davy Norris swapping positions with somebody. It was with Ashtube for P4, and he's still scrapping away, and they're still side by side. Ashtube has the inside, Davy Norris has the outside. Can he hold on to it? Ashtube gives him the space to try and do it, but then brakes incredibly late and just seals that position. Yellow flags out, as that is TKM, who's gone for a little bit of an off-track moment. Of course, it's very difficult to slam into the barriers, especially here around Qatar. And TKM looking to battle up from right at the very bottom. Sticky Icky 3-second time penalty for the Ferrari, and he's now level pegging with Davy Norris and Gaming Infinity at a disadvantage to those, the likes of Razor, Unksu and Speedy Spud in behind without penalties so far. And of course the top 4 not having penalties either. However, the top 3 breaking away from the rest. Chaz 4 tenths ahead of ARL, 1.5 seconds back to Lone Star then, and then 2.9 to Ashtube. So the gaps are really, really starting to form. Lap 9 of this Grand Prix has just been begun once again, and DRS has just been open once again as well. It's going to be Davy Norris trying to get past Ashtube. Can anybody else make that move as well? Just compound the difficulty that he's having as he heads around the outside into turn 1. Davy Norris might not even be able to make the move. A little bit of a slide into the first corner means that he's vulnerable to Gaming Infinity behind. Gaming Infinity, who just about backs out of it and sits in P6. Sticky Icky in P7 as TKM comes into the pits. Maybe he sustained damage. Maybe there was contact with somebody on that last lap. But either way, he's coming to the pits for what will be a new set of the medium compound tyres. So yeah, surely that was a forced pit stop from TKM. I'm sure that will be a incident that is decided. An incident that is decided in the stewards room. Lone Star now has had an incredibly poor last lap, and he's now 2.8 seconds off of ARL ahead. So the top two, incredible pace over the rest of the field, and they're going to try and continue as such throughout this race. And well, 2.8 seconds, not a bad start as we're a third of the way through this one. If they're able to hold on to this one, and if there's able to be no safety cars, which is easier said than done, then they should be in for a victory at an absolute canter. But as it stands, they are very, very close together. Razor picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, which puts him level pegging with Davy Norris, Ashtube. Davy Norris, Gaming Infinity, and Sticky Icky. Ashtube, who does not have that penalty and feels as though it is his right to fight with Davy Norris. Trying to take the outside line, switching to the inside line, braking late for turn number 2. Can he make this move stick? The braking late means that the exit traction goes to the McLaren, who's going to try and find his way back past. But in the end, Ashtube with just enough grip to cling on to that position. And he's up into P4. Big slide as well for Unksu in the background. And that means that there was contact between himself and Razor. Speedy Spud dropping position as a result. Razor did, but he's got it back in P9. And Floyd Pink and Speedy Spud swapping for P11 and P12. And they're continuing to actually swap for P11 and P12. That's an awful camera angle. Have I got any better ones for you? Yes, I do, but it's too little too late. And Floyd Pink is behind Speedy Spud, the Aston Martin, who's going to look now to rebuild his race. Gaming Infinity trying to pressure Davy Norris. Davy Norris trying to pressure Ashtube. I feel as though, as we're about to head out onto the main straight, it's going to get feisty between these drivers who all want that P4, but who's going to get it? Well, it's not going to be Sticky Icky, who comes into the pits on lap 11 of this race to get rid of the tyres that he was on before. Davy Norris goes around the outside. Gaming Infinity tries to use that slipstream to just slip through, but can't do it. 3 second for Killer Zombie. And we will now have a look to see what Sticky Icky's doing. He's switched onto a set of the hard compounder tyre. Floyd Pink also in the pits. He's come out as well. It's an incredibly close race. Probably one of the closest races that we've seen in a while in terms of all of the field fighting. Or at least the top 13 odd fighting away, with the rest having come into the pits or just not had very good races. So a very, very good, close, tight race so far. Good racecraft shown, but off goes Chuck Norris. Not quite off of the circuit, but a huge slide from the Williams. And that will drop him down to P11. So for him, really not what he would have wanted to see. And now he's got to rebuild from basically minute 1. As not quite out of the DRS of Speedy Spud, but he's right in the back of this field. He's actually out of the DRS of Ricky in P10, who's had a quiet race at the moment. I genuinely haven't seen him a single time, I don't think. But he's just been able to cling on to the DRS of Speedy Spud ahead in P9. I actually don't know if I've mentioned him at all so far this race. But that's what you get for being late. ARL comes into the pits. And that is the first of our 2 real front runners into the pits. So now Chaz gets the opportunity to do what I'd imagine he does best. And a hot lap until he ends up having to come into the pits. He's on a set of the medium sits within the next few, as Ashtube also followed ARL in. We're going to see where the 2 end up, as ARL is going to come out of the pits. Killer Zombie's coming down the main straight now. Chuck Norris is going to be about 6-7 seconds ahead of this. So is JSC Nutter as they head out of the pits And, well, Sticky Icky gets past Killer Zombie, who comes into the pits once again. Where's Ashtube coming out? It's behind Sticky Icky, but not by much. My PC is going absolutely ham at the moment, and I'm not 100% sure why. But we continue on. We continue on regardless. Unksu swapping with Davey Norris for P3, getting through. Gaming Infinity trying to do the same thing. So maybe a mistake eked out of the McLaren, who, in fairness, has not been short of mistakes so far this race. And he'll blame it on the sim rig. But with a sim rig that nice, it must be a skill issue. Chaz takes the opportunity to come into the pits as we head on to lap 13. And he is not the only one, as Davey Norris and Razor as well dive in. And they're going to switch on to what you would think is a set of the hard compound tyre. Yeah, there we go. Chaz out of the pits. Already, he's eager to get going once again. Where is going to be his race battler, ARL, as that's Jersey Nutter passing. That on the right-hand side of your screens is ARL. And it's going to be Chaz out in the lead. The overcut has worked for the Mercedes. And so far, even considering this is his debut league race, he is putting on a stellar performance. And he should be incredibly proud of what he's done so far. However, 16 laps to go even in this race. And there is a lot of work to do. ARL will give him a good fight in behind. But it's now down to Chaz to control this pace to the end. He's got better tyres than ARL as well. So once he gets them heated and ready and suited and booted, he will make his way further up the field, I would imagine, unless ARL has anything to say about it. And then there will be a little bit of squabbling. But as it stands, Chaz 3.9 seconds off of JSC Nutter and just 4/10 ahead of ARL. It's Sticky Icky in 9th. And Astube and TKM, both drivers who come into the pits 10th and 11th, but they've had very, very different stories this race. Then it's Davey Norris in P12. So not a terrible result. Lone Star and Gaming Infinity dive into the pits. Unksu inherits the lead of the race. And Speedy Spud only just sticking within that DRS range of Unksu as it stands. And, well, Lone Star, Gaming Infinity and JSC Nutter will come out of the pits behind this group of 3, I reckon. We'll see as they head past it. Yeah, they do. It's nice and comfortable. But Chaz and ARL, this is truly the battle for the race victory. But it's a lot more than race victory. Because the McLaren, the Mercedes even, is on debut in his league race. And that would be, in his league racing career. And that would be an incredible achievement to take victory here. But he has to take that victory first. The ARL isn't going to give him an easy ride. He's not just going to hand him the win because he's a newcomer. He's going to really try to fight with it, especially considering that, ARL's not won any races this year. The highest he's gotten is a P3. But this could be when that all changes. The gaps are broken. Typical EA moment. But the gaps are broken. Lone Star, another 3-second time penalty, headed his way in P6. So now he is starting to rack them up. I believe that might have been his teammate that I've mistaken him for. Don't want to look at the telemetry. Whoops. No, that's his first penalty for Lone Star. So I was thinking of his teammate David Norris. 3-second worth of penalties. Probably trying to look at the telemetry data for the rest of the drivers. You're not allowed to gain any advantage here. And you will actually be penalised by 3 seconds worth of penalties. TKM maybe looking to the inside. Staying behind Ashtube. Razor on Gaming Infinity. Side by side for P11. It's Razor on the outside. It's Gaming Infinity on the inside. And, it's going to be, in the end, Razor who takes that P11 and continues up to the next driver up in the field. Davey Norris, who's had not the season he would have wanted so far, I think it's fair to be said. And this race just seems to be compounding that just a little bit. of course, sitting in the championship at the moment is David Norris in P9 with 18 points. The lowest, the second lowest of all the drivers to have attended the races so far. So, well done, lad. Good job. Well done. Ungsu comes into the pits on lap 16. It's only 3 laps after the original strong pit stop, but I'm not sure it's going to have the same effect. The Haas is in. Where is Ungsu going to come out? He was in the mid-pack. If he's any higher than the mid-pack, he'll be alright. Ricky retakes the lead, or I say retakes, he takes the lead at a Speedy Spud with DRS. Chaz holds on to P3, still ahead of ARL. And, well, Lone Star, Sticky Icky come out ahead of Ungsu. But once again, not by much. This could be a cook strategy from Ungsu here to try and turn a nothing race into something, which of course is what you want to do when you're fighting for a championship. Ungsu at the moment is pretty set, I'd argue. He currently sits in P1 in the standings, 15 points ahead of Ricky, who he knows isn't going to score decent points today. And then the next driver down is 34 points behind in ARL. Listen, a DNF and a DNF and a... What am I talking about? A DNF. I read the chat, I got distracted. Charlie's got Net's P1. Yes. Yes, he has. There we go. Ricky and Speedy Spud coming in. Ricky picking up a 10-second time penalty for his troubles. We'll see where they come out. We'll see where they come out, especially in relation to Chaz, who's just exited. Ricky's just exited the pit lane. Chaz has just exited he's exiting into the first corner. So P1 and P2 are sorted. Let's look at the rest of the field now, and it's side by side between Ungsu and Sticky Icky as they head down the main straight. It's going to be Ungsu who comes out on top in that battle. And P4 now for the Haas driver. I like it. It shows guile. It shows balls, essentially. And you all know how much I love balls. But Ungsu up into P4. Davey Norris and TKM trying to fight. Doesn't matter for penalties. Just matters for pride now. And it's going to be TKM who comes out on top in that one. But a 3-second time penalty to boot. And it's going to be a late lunge from Davey Norris, taking both those drivers out. And Davey Norris retiring completely from the session. And we have our first safety car. A bold move from Davey Norris. Caused a domino effect, which meant that the McLaren retired from the race. And now it's trying to drive itself back into the pits. Just trying to see who's got damage from that. Surely somebody had damage there. And David Norris saying he won't race again unless he gets the respect from TKM. Was it just that move that you'd argue about that? Or would it be the whole race in general? Because that... I don't know about that one, Chief. If it's just that move. The whole race in general. I haven't seen. So... Chaz, 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. The debutant making a rookie mistake. And 10 seconds is headed to his time at the end of the race. All his hard work now has to become a little bit harder. As now not only does he and ARL have to build up a gap, but they also have to try and maintain that gap. 10 seconds. And you think it's going to be Chaz and Arrow. You could be having somebody else in the battle. Perfect timing, by the way, for those who took hards. Switch to mediums. TKM having to do the other way round. Everybody else, hards to mediums. Perfect strategy. No respect. I'm taking that as throughout the race then. But there we go. Lap 18 of 29. Ungsu continues to lead. Speedy Spud, or I say continues. Ungsu now leads. And he's got a perfect opportunity. Speedy Spud in P2. And Chaz will close in P number 3. Lap 13.2. Okay, so there's more than one occasion. That makes sense. Sorry, that was the question I was asking. But yeah, fair enough. What about getting Chaz in for DCD? Thoughts? Or maybe you want to cool down and then we can have a chat. I wouldn't blame you, but there you go. Everyone's going to try and catch up to the field. JSC, Nutter and Ricky off of the back of the field massively. Killer Zombie also, but a little bit further forward. Everybody else, you've tried. Well, maybe now that he's seen the performance, maybe it'll be different this time. You never know. I mean, to be fair, he is racing a blinder. But that 10-second is going to come back to bite him. It's going to come back to bite him so hard. Which is such a shame because he's driven so well throughout this race. He has been the quickest driver. Probably the best driver as well. Because ARL has been able to stay within that DRS but not quite close enough to pass. To reserves he's not always available. Yeah, fair play. I don't race because I'm here. So... And respectfully, you lot aren't going to pay me to drive. Not with the way I drive. Yeah, I actually did a league race on Wednesday. Retired on lap 3, I think it was. It was at Saudi, a crash turn 3. So. But yeah. I like how the two leagues are interlinked. I really do. I think it looks really good. Or the next season, potentially. And I know that this could be a touchy subject with some league owners and admins and stuff. Potentially worth bringing them together into one league. Potentially. But that's just me being me going like, well, surely it's much easier. Even though I know entirely that it's not easier. But I've seen it work before. The last league that I used to drive in properly, as in like the last league I actually raced a season in, it did. That was so long ago now. I think the last race I did was like October. I was going to say August, potentially October 2023. So a long time ago. There's certain people who would never have spot. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. What do you mean though? As in like, they wouldn't have a spot on the grid? They would. Multiple tiers. I mean, this would be multiple tiers because there'll be 2 different days. I don't know. There's different ways you can work it. PRS will never be able to work on a Friday. Well, there you go. And same way round. The other way round, I think it is for Gaming Infinity, who got banned the other way round, I think it is. Anyway, safety car's going to come in this lap, and who's going to lead us away? He's going to lead us away now. It's green flag racing. That's a Williams going very wide in the background, and Chuck Norris. He's going to drop down the field. It's going to be side by side between Chaz and Speedy Spud as we head down to turn number 1. Is he going to be able to make this move, or isn't Sue going to be under pressure? It's going to be neither, and it's going to be Chaz around the outside trying to make his way past Speedy Spud, but the Aston Martin holds on in P2, and he does hold on as well. Lone Star and Ash Tube swapping positions, P6 and P7, and that was a penalty flashing up right at the very top. Not 100% sure for who, because I didn't catch it in time. Gaming Infinity get through on Razor, and he's up into P8. Well, in a bit, Mr. Davey Norris. Unfortunately, it didn't go your way today. And yeah, I understand about that whole the ban on stuff. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think, to be fair, what I've done before is when I did it, it was in F1 22, so there was a lot more people in the league itself, like in the league racing space, and we didn't know. It was Ricky with a 10-second. Thank you, Bryce. For what? For contact? No, it can't have been. Must have been. Speeding under yellows. Okay. That was a bit... Would there have been a delta? Over... I don't know. Anyway, lap 21 of 29, and DRS has been enabled. Nope, lap 21. It took a while to update, but lap 21 of 29. DRS is now enabled But Speedy Spud might not need it. Chaz might not need it. They're going to try and fight away. Speedy Spud focus on taking that race victory and race lead as it stands. And that means that Chaz is going to try to fight with Speedy Spud at the moment for this P2. He's getting so close to the back of the Aston Martin that Speedy Spud is intentionally focused ahead. I was thinking overtake before start line, but I thought that it might come up as overtaking on who. But I don't know. Anyway, Jesse, that's a 3-second time penalty. And now that we know that Ricky has a 10-second, that makes it a lot easier to do the calculations. Not that I'll do it yet. I'll do it towards the end of the race. Floyd Pink another 3-second as well. Unksu continues to lead this one. Speedy Spud and Chaz both looking very racy and behind. ARL not looking as racy as Speedy Spud. A 3-second time penalty. But, of course, ARL, without a penalty, doesn't need to make those moves on Speedy Spud and Chaz. He only needs to make a move on Unksu and stay within range of Speedy Spud and Chaz in order to take the victory of this race. Hopefully Ricky gives us a heads up. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was a valid reason the game's giving it to him, because of course they don't give out penalties for invalid reasons, not at all, especially not warnings for contact, which didn't happen or wasn't your fault. Anyway, down the main straight, 22nd time in this race, and Speedy Spud has DRS for the first time in a while. He's going to pull to the inside. Chaz is going to pull to the outside. It's 3 wide for the race lead, and Chaz goes through. And the man who was in 3rd place before that first corner is now up into 1st. And there's still fighting going on just behind them now with Sticky Icky and ARL. Who's going to come on top in this one? It's going to be ARL with the inside line, who's going to try to take it, and does take it. And P4 is once again his, but a poor exit potentially means that Sticky Icky's invited back in. So is Lone Star, and they're side by side. Ashtube, actually the only driver in this battle who wasn't side by side, is Gaming Infinity, and Ricky was side by side behind for P8. Lone Star having a lot more pressure put on him by Sticky Icky, who goes the long way around, and he moves up into P5. But what an overtake for Chaz there into turn number 1, and thoroughly deserves to take that position. Straight after Briars says, not being biased, but Charlie for driver of the day? Absolutely. So many penalties, says Callum Kerrigan. Hello, Callum, by the way. You never responded to my ping in the RCI chat, but there we go. Chaz moves up into P1. Speedy Spud sitting in P2 at the moment. DRS will be available for these drivers as we head on once again to another lap of racing here. Ashtube around the outside of Sticky Icky, going to make that move nice and easily. Could be a send as well from ARL into turn 1, just backs out of it at the last moment. And Ricky gets past Gaming Infinity, trying to hold the outside line, and Sticky Icky as well. He can get through, he won't get through, because Gaming Infinity just squeezes him off of the circuit. And, well, they're just going to try to continue to fight for these lower points positions. And if he hadn't had the pen, he'd win, I think so. And he may still potentially win if he can break that gap as much as he possibly can. TKM and Floyd Pink, frantic racing. And Floyd Pink holding the inside, but TKM sweeping around the outside and taking P11. I have, sorry, been a busy bee. Fair enough, I mean, I haven't checked it in the last hour. So that is entirely fair enough. You're going to join us on... You're going to join us tomorrow. You're going to watch on Monday. You're going to race on Monday, Callum. Big question there. 3 seconds for Lone Star once again as he tries to fight with ARL and tries to gain that advantage. ARL, who hasn't particularly had that pace off the safety car restart quite yet, but he and Unksu still penalty free and behind Chaz and Speedy Spud. It's going to be a very, very difficult time for Chaz now to break free, as there's the penalties for you, Briars, as we head down the main straight for the 24th time in this race, and it's Chaz in the lead of it. Unksu coming under pressure from ARL, who could potentially make a move into turn 1. He's once again going to back out of it at the final second, and he feels as though he doesn't need to make that unnecessary move. Davey Norris and TKM making contact as they headed into a late braking move from Davey Norris, which was the reason that he ended up retired. Chaz is on for points. I have absolutely no idea. I can't do the maths. I've got to get the game to do the maths for me. There we go. Leader. Chaz would currently potentially be on for the... Oh no, because I've got to add on the penalties as well. He would just about be in 4 points, I think, as it stands. Just about. Yeah, that looks about right. Because TKM with 15 seconds, that'll put him 20 seconds behind Chaz. Floyd Pickton 12, that'll put him 17 behind Chuck Norris. Would only just be in behind. Not sure, can't do the maths quickly enough. Because of course there's lots of action going on in this race. It has been frantic ever since that safety car restart. Little bit of a lull on this lap, but I'm expecting it to explode again with that DRS on the main straight. These drivers cannot stay still for long, and they're going to try to fight now. Unksu could be coming under pressure. Is it going to be the move finally from ARL into turn 1, or is he going to back out once again? He's sort of going to go for a half move, couldn't quite decide, and that ruins his exit, which means Lone Star's going to pull to the outside and then the inside once again. And the Mercedes moves up into P4 now. And the man who had decent pace earlier on in this session, who dropped off just that little bit, is now coming back to the 4. I know he has a 6-second time penalty, but this could all work in his favour as he just goes with no risks into, or sorry, no fear, going full risks into some of these moves, as he's only now battling for pride. Callum Kerrigan is going to be in the Ginetta on Monday. Always racing. Good to see. You're just not always on broadcast then, in that case. But is it you with the pink car? Or is that the other Callum? Because now that I remember, it must be one of you two. I'm hoping that I'm right in that. Otherwise I sound really stupid. I'm hoping that it's you, actually. Because then I sound even more stupid for doing a John Dalton and getting the two mixed up. But yeah, I'm hoping it's you. Heading around the main straight for the 26th time now, and it's going to be Chaz in the lead of this race. Lone Star right on the rear of Untsu, and he's going to try to take the P3 as they head down the straight once again. ARL has dropped off on that lap, and Lone Star pulls an ARL and just pulls to the inside line, then backs back out. You are the pink car, wonderful. I thought so. See, I do know things, and I did know you were racing. Around the outside, late move for Ricky, who just holds on to P7. With Sticky Icky not quite having that qualifying pace converted into the race. And P8 is where he sits. But with all of them still within DRS, all the top 9, potentially the top 11 if TKM can get back into it, it's going to be feisty the last few laps of this race. Yeah, lap 26-29, we are about 2.5 laps away from the end of this one. And we are no closer to seeing who's going to win this one on track. Of course, Chaz has led for a while after that safety car restart. But he has a 10-second time penalty. So I think it's advantage Untsu. And I think Untsu's going to try and keep Lone Star behind him as long as possible as well. Like Lone Star directly behind him, because ARL has that penalty. That's a big slide from Ricky, but not punished by Sticky Icky, who just currently sits in behind his teammate. These two doing a decent job for the Ferrari outfit. But it's going to be an even better weekend for the Mercedes outfit. First and fourth as it stands. And as they head down the main straight, it could be first and third. As that is Speedy Spud pulling to the inside line quite aggressively, but making that move stick into turn number 1. Is Chaz going to fight this one around the outside? He's going to try at least. He doesn't quite have that overspeed. And Sticky Icky getting past Ricky Maru into P7 finally. And he can now try to work his way up the field, because of course P6 would still potentially be on even after penalties because of Speedy Spud's 10-second, or Lone Star could get another 3 seconds. Someone else could get a 3 second. There are many a penalty on this field as it stands today, more than most other races, I believe any other race that we've done in the International Racing League so far. And well, that is just the nature of Qatar. It's so quick that sometimes you can just go slightly over the limit, and by the point you do, it's impossible to back out, and it's too late. Especially with strict corner cutting, it's almost impossible to do this. I think last time I did a race around here, I got 22 seconds worth of penalties, bearing in mind for the track limits, or 21 seconds, bear in mind, for the track limits. You get disqualified at, I believe, 24 or 27, so I was only 1 or 2 penalties away from being disqualified, and trust me, I brushed it close on some occasions. Chaz 3/10 behind Speedy Spud, but a big slide out of the final corner, getting out of the way of the drivers behind. Pretty well done from Chaz in the end to keep that one clean, but he now drops, and his battle for the on-track race lead, at least, is now completely gone. as he now drops down to P8. And the way this field have been fighting, this is going to be impossible for him to get back. And Briars will be devastated that Chaz has dropped all the way down to P8. And he will not be fighting for the on-track race lead. And now will even potentially not be on for points because of those 10 seconds worth of penalties. A very, very grave shame from Chaz. But he doesn't have the potential to do flashbacks here. This is, you know, you make a mistake, and you drop down the field gutted. Absolutely. And I'm not surprised in any way, shape or form that you are. And now he's going to have to try and fight back. He'll have the pace to fight back, but whether he has enough as we head now onto what will be the final lap of the Grand Prix. He sits in P8, just unable to find a gap around Ricky, and with limited overtaking spots around the Losail International Circuit, that could have cost him at least like 4 points. But it's 7 positions on track. Ashtube burns, Sticky Icky fighting Ashtube. Lost the position, and Sticky Icky slide out of the final corner. He's done a Chaz, and he's done well to get out of the way. But at the end of it, he's now dropped behind. It's going to be 3 wide as we head into turn 1. Ricky, Chaz, and Ashtube. Chaz down the inside this time in a 3 wide moment. Last time he made it stick, he was around the outside, but he's somehow still going to try and make it stick. Ricky down the inside, and he's made that one stick now. And the Ferrari up into P5. Ashtube without a penalty, so he doesn't need to fight this one too hard on the final lap. But indeed, he is going to, and he sends it to the inside of Chaz, who now loses the position to TKM, and Chaz all the way down now in P10. That is his chase for points over after just a couple of moments of contact, a couple of hairy moments on that final lap. Unsu, though, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll probably continue to say it throughout the season. 8th to 1st on this field. He is our championship leader by a considerable margin. He will now go up from 15 points ahead. Where's Ricky? Ricky's in P5. He's going to get 10 points. So it's going to be now 25. No, not even 25. 30 points ahead. Am I right in saying that? I think I am. Lone Star trying to take him into the final corner. But he has a penalty. So this fighting is futile. And Unksu is going to come across the line for his 3rd victory in what is an incredibly strong season so far from him. ARL in the end taking P2. Probably the quickest driver outside of Chaz. Chaz, who does end up in P10, I believe. So a point headed his way as his teammate ended in P5. They were in 1st and 4th with just a couple of laps to go. But devastating stuff for Chaz. And victory taken by Unksu once again. A quieter race this time as he fought his way up from P8 all the way up to the top of the field. And the American, once again, triumphs. ARL taking P2, of course, but not very happy about it, as you can see in the chat. 5 asterisks. You try and be careful on the restart and people throw cars at you. Well, get those in the reports, lad, because it's above my pay grade. Speedy Spud in P3 in the end, with Ashtube in P4. Speedy Spud almost got Unksu on the line, but with that penalty, of course, it didn't matter. Lone Star in P5, Gaming Infinity in P6, Razor in P7, Sikiaki in P8, Chuck Norris, who had a couple of issues in P9, and Chaz, who had even more in P10. Then it's Ricky, Nutter, Floyd Pink, and TKM with Killer Zombie and Davey Norris rounding out the field with 2 DNFs for McLaren. But what a drive from Chaz. I don't think I can give him the driver of the day after that mistake. I think he deserves it, but at the end of the day, I think I'm going to give it to Unksu. Just for coming from absolutely nowhere, staying penalty free, which is so difficult around this circuit. And, well, taking yet another P1. But, well, that shall be the end of your broadcast for this evening. I'd like to thank everybody who came and watched the stream as International Racing League had their 5th round of the season. Make sure to join us for the next one, and make sure to join me. I plugged this at the end of the DCD stream the other day. He got hit, did he? What, in that first mistake? Or the second? Because I think the second was contact with TKM, potentially. Watch out for later today, because I've got a very exciting video coming that I am actually gassed to get out because I'm so proud of it. So subscribe, watch out later this evening for that video. You want to see more of my commentary? Which, of course, that isn't. You want to see more of my commentary? Well, I'm back Monday. I'm back Tuesday. I'm back Wednesday. I'm back Thursday. I'm back Friday. I'm back Saturday. And then I'm here once again. So, there's no shortage of Joseph Black commentary for you. Monday, of course, as Callum knows, I'll be on RCI TV for the Ginetta GT Cup. And then Tuesday, not sure where I'll be actually. I've got two potentials. I'll either be doing something very exciting, or I'll be doing the APC again on the Almost Pro Championship YouTube channel. Then Wednesday, EXA. Thursday, PSGL on their respective channels. Friday, I'll be back with DCD. Saturday, I believe it'll be WHF on their channel. DCD is on here. And then back here for Sunday and IRL. But until next time, it is goodbye.